And so if you can actually insist that the spleen works in the ratio and balance and homeostasis that it should, by not only using diet, but as we would, electromagnetic, cold laser, cyber scan tech, these are state-of-the-art medicine that you don't hear in your country. But in countries like my wife, where they really, really do care about healthy citizens, this is what they use in medicine. And so these are the things we use at Hippocrates on the front line. And with these growths, we'll be able to squelch them time and time and time again. And so even if the body did something weird, because it's not genetics that actually did that, it's the biology of the biochemical system that did it that affects the genes. And you can read it in the gene, but it's not a genetic disorder to begin with. And in those cases, you can help them, but you can't just do diet alone. That's a must, that's a necessity. But diet alone is not going to do everything. You have to start fighting these things back with these technologies that spoke about. And by the way, I don't think this will be a disease because modern medicine, and what I'm talking about is really the best of modern medicine now, is going to, in the next generation or so, practice it. And you know what to do when you find out at 5 days older, a month older, that they have this problem.
Hi, Brian.
Yes.
I have radiation, and with the result I have sensitive gums and teeth, and they want me to take fluoride, but I was just wondering, would you have any suggestion for that?
Yeah, what's in your teeth?
Sensitivity,
oh, yeah.
and teeth and gums.
So what happens when you take radioactivity into your body, that you actually take the sheathing away from nerves. So you have this phosphorus covering on all of your nerves, and it takes it away completely. So now you're hypersensitive to anything. So what you need to do is have really strong mineral-rich supplementation. Not that I'm trying to sell you a supplement, but we make the best one in the world. It's called C Strength. And it's a combination of the most pristine ocean plants in the world taken off Iceland that literally is so clean that we don't have to put a preservative into this, not even a natural preservative. And if you start to take that, as an example, a dropper full in the morning and a dropper full at night, holding most of it under the tongue for 3-4 minutes, and do that for about 4 months. And then after that, half a dropper full in the morning, half a dropper full for another 8 months, and then after that, just a half a dropper full in the morning. You'll see a shocking change in this within a matter of months.
Hi, Brian. I've been recently diagnosed with autoimmune encephalitis. That's an individual of my symptoms of confusion and memory problems.
Okay, well, let me explain something to you. When a doctor tells somebody they have an autoimmune disease, be suspicious, because anything they don't know how to deal with, anything they don't know what it is, anything they don't have a medicine for, they call an autoimmune disease. They call arthritis an autoimmune disease, mononucleosis, and I can go down the list of obscure things. So what should have been said to you is that your lifestyle or what you've done or shock or emotions or combinations of all of that literally devastated your immune system, and once again it went on strike. So what you do for that is you get on this type of a lifestyle, you're consistent, and you slowly rebuild the immune system. Now, when we look at certain symptomology that they're saying is your immune system's attacking you, which I promise you is not true, you'd be dead. If your immune system attacked you, if my immune system decided now it would attack me, I'd be dead in 3, 4, or 5 minutes. The longest I would ever live is 5 minutes. That we know, by the way, in science. So what's happening to you with your immune system on strike and the symptoms, then once we get you strong, we really see what's happening or not. Your mental stuff will go away in a matter of a month or 2 just by the fact that you strengthen your immune system. You get rid of all the usual suspects we spoke about. And then if not, we then target. I made something for the mind that is phenomenal, not because I made it, just because it was warranted, that there's nothing out there like it, called Life Give Conscious Brain. And this is a funny story, so I'll tell it to you. About 5 years ago, Stanford University did a study, the first of its kind ever, on nutrients that affect neurons in the brain. Why? Because my generation, listen closely people my age, 25% of us are going to get Alzheimer's disease. Now, let me say that again so you get this. Some of you may not understand because you're already on the way. I'm from a group of people that have hundreds of millions of us worldwide called baby boomers. How many of you are of the baby boom generation, just to show you? Look around the room. A lot of them are lying through their teeth. They're trying to be with the Generation X, and they don't look at it. But hundreds of millions of us worldwide. 25% of us won't know who our wives are, our children, our grandchildren. That's scary. So now there's lots of research money going on this. So I looked at that research, and I said, boy, this is great research. And I said to my friend out in California, do you know anyone that's making a supplement like that? Yeah, he said, they're doing a halfway job. But I got that for 38 people for 2 months. I gave it to them. All of them had dementia. About 20% had Alzheimer's degree. And out of them, 2 of them didn't have any great effect. 36 of them had remarkable effect with a supplement that wasn't that strong. And the wife would call me, or the husband, and say, oh my God, he knows who I am for the first time in years. You know, he's lucid most of the time. He's back to work. I heard that 8 times. Not he, only 6 were men, 2 were women. So we brought it back to the blueprint board. We tripled the active ingredient, and I wasn't wise enough to know this. My colleague said to me, do you know these 2 other herbs? And I said, no. He said, look at what the French did on this one, and look what they did in South America, this, we added that one. It's called Life Give Conscious Brain. Now, I didn't take it, because of course I remembered all this bullshit, and a few months ago I said to Anna Maria, I don't need that stuff. I have a great memory. And when she gives me that, you know that? Your wife, your husband gives you that? I said, I better take it. And she's so sweet. She says, well, it's not as good as it was when you were 40. And I was stunned. Now, I really do have a good memory. But the fact is, now I see the nuance and the subcultures like I haven't seen since I was 30 years old. So that's what you're going to take immediately to help you. But what we need you to do is get not on a pill first, get on a lifestyle first. That's what's going to heal you. Keep going. Yes?
Hi, the last time you were here you mentioned doing research on B12.
Yes.
Is that research available?
Oh, the research is not published, but what we do know is this. That B12 deficiencies outweigh every other deficiency on the earth. 70% of the population, by the way, has a B12 deficiency. And if you were to say to me, what's the #1 cause of memory loss, neurological problems, multiple sclerosis, blah, 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 that's B12. And again, let me repeat, this isn't an opinion, this is science we're giving you again. 70%, I don't see only Americans, by the way. Right now, as we sit here, we have people from 16 countries at Hippocrates. Is there any Irish there? No, I'm not sure. Maybe one. But in fact, all over the world they come. So I'm seeing young people, old people, and you know another interesting thing? Half the people that come to us now are not dying. They're just smart enough not to want to die. So they come to us and say, hey, I've seen my mother and father suffer. I want to get on this before I do. So we see healthy people, young people, black people, white people, short people, tall people, rich people, poor people, because we give full scholarships for really, really indigent people. So we don't prevent anyone from coming to us. And guess what? 70% of us have a B12 deficiency. So what's the remedy for that? You better take B12 on a daily basis. It's the only supplement that I can legitimately tell you you need without me knowing more about it. Because when you have 70% ratio problem, that's scary stuff. And it will contribute to our 25% in the baby boomer generation not knowing who we are.
Dr. Clements, you mentioned earlier on one of your slides about the moving sugar and ALS. What other would they two things that are happening?
With ALS, it's a degradation of the nerves and muscles of the body. So what we have to do is we have to keep them alive. And just like anything, I don't know how many of you know this, and I'll be very vividly clear so you get it. If I were to get the healthiest man or woman in this room, that all of us agree, they're really healthy, and got them and tied them up here on this table, where they couldn't move an inch, do you realize if we came in daily and saw them, you'd see their bodies break down? Now we have polite words and bed sores. Now, here's the point I'm making. If you don't use the body, you lose it. So what the problem I have is when paralysis comes in with ALS, that you stop using the part of the body and it multiplies that 10-fold, 20-fold, 30-fold, 100, 200, 1,000-fold. So what we do is we use electromagnetic stimulation on it. Now, we have really expensive fancy units, and yes, you should do that initially, like jump-starting the car, but then you do it with a TENS unit. TENS units every doctor can prescribe to you if you have any legitimacy. And they're little 9-volt batteries that constantly, where you're having the biggest degradation, you put that on and you sit and you read. And that's going to keep the stimulation going. Now, once I see, and I looked at, can I speak openly? You're not so bad. Look at this here. Yeah. I read these all the time, and this is not so bad. If I can actually find out from further testing, we do these testing again called cyberscan, that are remarkable. They tell us things that we're having to learn about what it means. That's how advanced this is. You know, I know a lot, but I don't know everything. The fact is, there's some readings coming out that Dr. Anna Marina and our medical team sit and look at, and we have to call back the research scientists in Europe and say, what does this really mean? Like the other day we spent time with the Russian scientists on bioenergy fields. And the fact is, we can find out what the real direct cause behind that was. And you and I talked, can I speak openly? Okay. He was saying he overworked himself. You know, his priorities got wrong, and he stressed himself. Now, that is always part of every disease, but with this disease, Aeon, a big part of that disease. I always see that. Now, he may never have had that disease, although it was lingering in the background because he was doing all the other usual bad things. But the fact is, that stress puts you over. It puts you over with cancer, but it really puts you over with these muscle and neuron type of diseases. In this kind of stage that you're in, this can be halted. Now, don't let this advance. Because there's 4 diseases I don't like to work with. We can help them, but I'm going to be honest, I don't like to work with. Late stage ALS, because I'm going to prolong your life at that point. MS, late stage. Late stage Alzheimer's. You'll never know who your wife is at that point. I'll prolong your life. And late stage MS. But early stage, this is great stuff. And you've got to use all the latest and newest technology on it. And that stuff's moving like this. It's wonderful. And you see the technicians and the young kids that really understand electronics, they're going to revolutionize. They are revolutionizing medicine at this point. And you're going to see pharmaceuticals will be forced out in the next 50 years, and everything's going to be what we're talking about now. Electromagnetic nutrients, whole food supplementation, electromagnetic frequency of nutrients, where you don't even take the nutrient, the frequency is put into your body. That's the new frontier we're working on that. And it works, by the way.
So just to say, what is ALS?
It's actually a muscle and nerve breakdown, degradation of the body. We called it, you may know it because you're old enough to remember Lou Gehrig. Remember they called it Lou Gehrig's disease.
Dr. Martin,
Where are we?
this gentleman here.
Oh, here you are.
Hi, Brian. Good to see you. It's good to talk to you. I've been practicing for the last 14 years, possibly about 15 years, Gerson therapy.
Yes.
And Charlotte and her team there injured carrot, apple and celery.
Right.
So I had to home this evening now, just in your opinion, have you spoken to Charlotte Gerson this?
Absolutely. Let me number one honor Max Gerson and Charlotte Gerson, his daughter. Max Gerson was jailed several times in his life. His work was 80 years ago or before. I think he should have been up for a Nobel Prize, and they've helped so many people. Charlotte now is 90. She has the energy of most 18-year-olds and the intelligence of most 200-year-olds. And I do nothing but honor Charlotte and Max Gerson, and so let's start with that. But good Germans don't change the rules. That's what I've learned. I've lived on the continent for 3.5 years. My wife is not German, thank God, but she's tough enough as a Swede. But the fact is that Charlotte is holding the mantle of what Max discovered 80 years ago. We've learned a lot. If you heard me say it, I said it 3 times today. In the last 12 months, we've learned things about sugar and fructose that I couldn't have told you 12 months ago. I also said to you we had the top researchers in the world at Hippocrates 7 days ago, sitting in a room with me at Hippocrates 7 days ago. And they're bringing me this information firsthand. I'm asking questions like, how did you discover that? It's better than even reading the research. So, Charlotte, God bless her soul. God bless what they do. I love them. I support them. I'll never say anything but good about these human beings, because that's who they are. They're salt of the earth. They're brave. They're politically smart. They know what they're doing. But they've got to grow. If you came to Hippocrates 5 years after the first time, and I was doing the same thing, you should ask for your money back. Because we've got to keep moving. And today with the technology, it's moving fast, brother. It's moving so fast I can't keep up with it. I have teams of people worldwide that keep me informed, because you can't possibly read all of them.
Hi, Brian. I have hypothyroidism, and I should have done it when you said about cell phones. I didn't actually know that. But I wanted to ask your opinion. Again, fluoride issue. I read a book by Dr. David Brownstein, and he said that fluoride competes with iodine. And I actually, I don't have a water study yet. That's the next thing to get. But I have bottled water, the best I can get, and it's fluoride free. And I noticed I can
Thank you for reminding me of this. Dr. Brownstein was absolutely spot on. He was correct. That fluoride, the next thing we should have talked about, definitely degrades the thyroid because it competes with the iodine. It wipes out the iodine. Forget to compete. It supersedes it with the chemical composition it's made of. So we also see in high fluoride areas, like Ireland, like the United States, like Canada, people have a much higher incidence of this. But once again, let me remind you, I go to the continent. I'll be spending the next week speaking in Europe. They don't use fluoride. And they have about the same ratio as, I agree, this is another added attraction and craziness. But what you need to do is get a distiller. Fact of the matter is, if you buy a proper distiller, they're not, are you single or have a family? Okay, well, you're going to spend a little bit more for it. But the fact is, you'll end up paying less in a year or two. You could have bought one or two distillers by taking plastic bottled water that almost always has chemicals.
Hello, I have recently been diagnosed with Crohn's, and I ran Bernadette, and she put me on various capsules, vegetable based. Now it has reduced my symptoms, but next week I have to go for a test, which they intend to remove from my mouth. Do you advise that?
Well, number one, I'd have to know more to advise. There are some rare cases where basically you have a rotting bowel, that really absurd, extreme, 1 fraction of 1% case. If I told you no, that would be dead. So, but if you're the other 99.99%, the answer is no, you don't go to the extreme first. The tenure of these people are always to do the extreme thing. And mine is never to do the extreme thing unless it's an extreme problem. Now, modern medicine is not all bad, and there's times you need it, but in these cases, almost never do you need to remove it. You need to correct it. Now, here's the problem with Crohn's disease, which is called colitis. It was at one time you had diverticulosis, diverticulitis. That's actually where you've done enough wrong by putting it into your body, lacking oxygen, lacking hydration, lacking nutrients, that you had perforations in your colon. You had inverted pimples, so they went on the outside, like ended up in little pus pockets. That became inflamed, and when it became inflamed, they then call it Crohn's disease or colitis. Bottom line is, that's corrected. But we're going to tell you that it's not a chronic disease. We're going to tell you you don't need drugs the rest of your life. And if you gave us 3 or 4 years being a saint, you would wipe it out. Because I've never worked with a person who did what they should that didn't wipe this out. But again, it takes longer to wipe this out than most cancers. This is a laborious process. And you have to be brave, because everyone is going to say, don't eat raw food. Everyone's going to say, oh, God forbid, they're going to tell you, put wheatgrass up your ass. And yes, I am. You hear what I'm saying here? So you got to be brave. So are you brave, young lady? I'm very brave. There you are.